All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What is up, everyone? This is Nate the Great coming to you live from the All Sports All Plays Network. I am here with Ray Cruz and Jonathan Mathis. Podcast Just Say the Truth. How are the both of you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing tonight, Nate?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well myself. Jonathan?
I'm doing great, man. Just enjoying a full day of March Madness games. I'm a little disappointed that my bracket is busted once again, but you know what? It never fails. It's nothing new. It always happens to me year after year. I never have a perfect bracket. Never.
As for me, I'm still hanging into it. Right now I'm sitting at 70 points with my only two losses today so far is the Ohio State game, which this something that's not something for another show, but Ohio State game, and then there was one other game that we'll have to talk about that on another show. But before we get right into the topics, we do have a couple of ads that we need to take care of. So first things first, let's I'm gonna put up the Suzanne Paparazzi's jewelry.
Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us, from all of us here at the ASAP Network.
And now, the Misty Meadows. So, we're going to go right into the topics here. And first questions first is, we're going to cover a little bit of NBA. Question is actually towards the New York Knicks. Now, right now they're at 7th seed in the East. Do you guys think that they could make the playoffs? We'll go with Ray first.
My opinion, I think so. I think they're in a good position to do it. That's if they can continue winning and not losing most of their games that are coming in the next few weeks and beginning of about midweek of April. They got some tough games coming in, and I think if the games that they're most likely going to lose in this stretch will probably be the 76ers, who they play tomorrow night at 8:00. Then they play back-to-back against the Washington Wizards. That could be a winnable game for them. Milwaukee Bucks, I think that's a losable game. They could play good against them. They could win, but you're looking at the following game is Miami Heat, and then they're probably the only one they might win is that Timberwolves game because Timberwolves not playing great this season, but that could also be a losable game for them too. So, I mean, their schedule here coming up in the next few, all the way up to April 16th. Is stocked, and they got the Brooklyn Nets on April 5th, and then the key game is the April 7th. I picked is the Boston Celtics, who's sitting in the 8th spot. So that's going to be that. So they're living right now on that tail end of the spectrum of the thing. But you got to understand the Hornets are in the 5th seed, and you got the Atlanta Hawks, who also capable of be going up and down. And I think that last few seeds from the 5th seed on down is going to fluctuate between the end of the season.
Yeah. I'm going to go next because I wanted to discuss something. Right now, currently, the 6th, 7th, and 8th seed all are sitting at a 500 record. The Hornets and the Celtics are both sitting at 20-20, and the Knicks are sitting at 21-21. So as of right now, I'm going to say yes, but they're going to be on the tail end. I'm pretty sure that's not. They're probably going to be on the tail end of whether they can make the playoffs or not. Jonathan, what do you have to say on this?
Well, the Knicks have improved as a team this season. Julius Randle has gone off. He's been on a tear. He's been putting up points. RJ Barrett has improved his jump shot this season. But like Ray said, they have a tough schedule ahead of them. And now, we're about to really see what the Knicks are truly made of, with this schedule in front of them. They're going to have to go out there and win, a handful of these games. They can't afford to lose a number of these games because a lot of these games are very significant, and we will know, more about the Knicks in the upcoming weeks. But I do think with the East being not as deep as the West, not as stacked as the West, that the Knicks have a chance to make it in the playoffs. Even if they get an 8 or 7 seed, they'll still be there. Now, do I think they make a deep playoff run? No, not at all. But I do think they have a chance to make the playoffs with the roster that they currently have now.
So I'm going to go on and talk to the next topic here. I'm going to talk about the Lakers. All these questions are actually questions from Freddie. Unfortunately, could not make the show today. So he came up with a question about his very own Los Angeles Lakers. He wants to know what should the Lakers trade for, and I'm not surprised he came up with this question. To be honest with you, Ray, I'm going to go with you first. What do you think that the Lakers should go for?
Well, the standard answer is you got Drummond out there and you got Aldridge. But I'm gonna throw this out to the left field since we are talking about the Los Angeles Lakers, who's supposed to be this team that's going to destroy everybody in the NBA playoff because the regular season don't matter, according to Freddie. So this is for you, Freddie. I'm gonna pick Hassan Whiteside because he's a younger player. He's an up and coming player. He's a good talent. They already got old guys at center, so they need to upgrade that center to a younger center. So Hassan Whiteside's my pick for it. I think they need to go out and get him. But you got to understand about the Lakers, their money issues, their luxury cap that they're going to be falling into here soon. So if you want the player for your money, Hassan Whiteside is, because he's playing at a minimum contract. If you're going to go out and get Aldridge, you're going to go out and get Drummond, you're going to have to pay for him. You're going to have to soak up their salary cap. They're going to have to soak up the salary from Cleveland. You hope Cleveland buys them out at the end of the trade deadline. That's what the Lakers are going to have to wait for those two. But if you want to go get a player now, Hassan Whiteside is a good shot blocker, good defense, a good rebounder. That's what the Lakers need right now to go with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I'm sorry, but that's my pick because that's who they need to go after. They need to get younger, not older.
I'm actually agreeing with you. They do need a big man there, but they also need to, they need to go younger as well. If they keep on going older and older and older, eventually you might have to deal with an injury like with a case that like what happened with Anthony Davis. You might have to deal with a lot of injuries, to be honest with you. So I think you do need to go younger, and I'm in agreement with you, Ray. Jonathan, who do you think that the Lakers should go for?
Well, PJ Tucker was my guy, but he got traded to the Bucks. And And the reason he was my guy, let me just talk about this briefly real quick. The reason he was is because he could spread the floor. You know, he has a nice mid-range jumper. He has a smooth outside shot. And, you know, Tucker had 1 year left and just under $8 million attached to his name in a trade. The question was if the Lakers were able to meet the Rockets' asking price, and I guess that's why they couldn't land him in the deal. But now that he's no longer available and now that he has gotten traded, the guy that I'm keeping an eye on is Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond makes a lot of sense for the Lakers at this point. But back to what Ray was saying, he's an expensive player, and I'm not sure that the Lakers can really afford a player like Andre Drummond. But he does fit in well with the Los Angeles Lakers, especially with Anthony Davis being out right now. They need a solid guy who can, you know, defend well underneath the basket. They need a big man. And as we've talked about it before, the Lakers' offense has always been predicated on the big man. The Lakers have always relied on a big man and someone of that presence. So it would be nice to see them, something out to get him over here. And then another guy, of course, is LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, these are two big names out there right now. But I'm like Ray. Hassan Whiteside makes a lot of sense right now. He is a presence at the rim on both sides of the court. The kind of rim protector that the Lakers haven't had this season on either end of the floor. He makes more sense right now because he's less expensive and he has the intangibles. He brings those intangibles to this Lakers offense and defense.
Now I do want to say one thing though, which I should. Yeah, this kind of relates to this next topic, but it also relates to the topic that we were talking about before, and that's the conference difference. The next topic is who is your personal favorite. I'm actually going to go first on this one. Who's your personal favorite to win the NBA championship? And I'm going to go first. I'm going to say the Brooklyn Nets. But I'm going to go. I have a little hot take here. I don't think that it'd be the Lakers. I actually think that the team to lose it, I think it's going to be the Phoenix Suns. Now, Ray, do you have anything to say on that, or what's your take?
Well, my take is, everybody's got the Lakers pinpoint up being there for the Western Conference, but if Utah keeps playing the way they playing and they keep winning the way they winning, they can give the Lakers a run for their money in the Western Conference Finals if they can make it all the way up in there. That's going to be the big point of the Utah. Can Utah keep this pressure up and keep playing the way they're playing up through up to the All-Star and a few after the All-Star break? So that's going to be the question there for that side. You got an up-and-coming team in Phoenix. I like Phoenix. I like their style of play. That style of play can frustrate teams, but they're still a young team to go up against that Laker team. It wants to get Anthony Davis back. But that's going to be the question for the Lakers. Can they get Anthony Davis back healthy enough to play? Then you got to understand what Brooklyn's got that big four now with Blake Griffin. Freddie, we go back all the way back to Real Talk when I was on Real Talk with Freddie, and they said the Brooklyn Nets didn't have depth and stuff. Now the Brooklyn Nets got some depth when they picked up Blake Griffin. That's the reason we have to get Blake Griffin to get the depth in that thing. But you got to understand Blake Griffin is injury prone too. So you got a lot of more months coming up here, all the way up until May before the playoffs even start. So you don't know if he's going to come in healthy or if he's going to come in injured or what the status is, and when is Anthony Davis going to come back to show that he's healthy enough, that ankle is healthy enough to go through the playoffs. So you got it up in the air right now. So the team that's sitting right there on the cusp is the Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns. I like them. I think they got the pieces they need to get into this run. But the question is, how good is the Lakers and how good is Anthony Davis' ankle? That's always going to be the big pressure. And how good is Brooklyn when they incorporate all the pieces? Because right now Brooklyn's playing the Magics. They're down at halftime 64-62. So you got to understand they're still building that team chemistry because they added that piece of Blake Griffin. So how's that team chemistry going to come into play in this rest of this month, April, and then the beginning of May, and then they got the playoffs. So that's going to be the big question. So personally, right now, I'm looking at Brooklyn at a slight edge over the Lakers because we don't know how healthy Anthony Davis is coming back.
I have two things to say on that. I honestly, looking at Utah, looking at the team that they've been in the past, and they're currently sitting at the number 1 seed. They're doing pretty well. Don't get me wrong, but I won't be surprised if they don't make it. If they even make it past the first round. To be honest, I just don't know what it is. Teams that are on a hot streak, basically being quote unquote, lack of a better term, face of the team of the franchise, basically. I honestly don't see them making it past the first round. I don't know what it is with me and number 1 seeds, but
you got to understand what Utah is. Utah came in. The NBA started the season in December instead of the regular October timeframe. So you had teams to fill in at each other all the way up to the All-Star break this year. Well, did Utah peak too early? Because Utah, picking in December all the way up to the All-Star break, can Utah withstand that? Team will go in that valley of up and down as they go progression, but you don't want to go up and down now after the All-Star break because this is when the NBA becomes the NBA. This is when the teams separate from mediocre teams, the good teams separate from the mediocre team. Mediocre team shows up, and that's going to be the question: can Utah Jazz not be that mediocre team?
I have one other thing to say about this, but Jonathan, why don't you go next? Who do you have winning it all, and who do you have being the runner-up?
I mean, this is not me being biased, but I gotta stick with the Los Angeles Lakers here. Look, the Los Angeles Lakers are playing well defensively. They have stepped it up defensively. LeBron James has done a terrific job anchoring that defense. He has made everyone around him better. He's the ageless wonder. I still think he's at the top of his game at age 36. It's amazing what we've seen. I know they don't have Anthony Davis, and yes, I'm going to say this. They're going to need Anthony Davis if they're going to make another run in the postseason, and I'm pretty sure they will have him back. I'm very certain of that. Right now, they can sit him out. They could rest him. They got to let him at least get back to 100% before they bring him out there because you don't want a Kevin Durant 2.0. You don't want him to come back too soon, and then he has a setback, and then next thing you know, he has a torn ACL. That's the last thing the Lakers want right now. So get him fully healthy. Make sure he's 100% ready to go. And let LeBron just, anchor this offense and defense because LeBron has looked amazing on both ends of the floor, both defensively and offensively. And I just think the Lakers have the pieces. They won it a year ago. Now they know what it takes to get back to that point again. And I just think they're still the powerhouse in the Western Conference. And I think they will come out of the West. And I think they are the favorites to win the championship. The runner-ups, I would go with Brooklyn. I just don't see the Heat getting back to the finals. The Heat have been a little sluggish this season. They have not reestablished their identity. They look like a different team. They've been up and down, throughout the season. And, that's something to look out for with the Heat. I just don't see them getting back. The Bucks are who they are. They're a very good regular season team. Giannis seems to dominate in the regular season. But him and Chris Middleton seems to disappear when the games really matter. And that's always something to look out for as well. So I'm going to have to go with Brooklyn. I just think Brooklyn has all the pieces. They have great role players off the bench. Don't forget about Joe Harris. People forget about him. What's the other guy with the curly hair that comes off the bench? He's been amazing as well. He's, giving them some points and has made major contributions off the bench. And then, of course, you have Kevin Durant, who's one of the world's greatest players. And it's been amazing to see what the Nets have been able to accomplish without Kevin Durant being on the floor. So you can only imagine what it'll be like with him on the floor. He just adds an extra dimension to their offense. And, I mean, when you put Kyrie Irving together and the days that he actually wants to play basketball, because there's some nights that he does decide to take off. And he doesn't look like the Kyrie Irving we saw the previous night. And we're sitting there wondering, well, where the hell did he go? Why hasn't he shown up? Why hasn't he been consistent night in and night out? So, I mean, with James Harden, the team has improved offensively. They have gotten 10 times better than what they were. And that's scary. Those three guys together definitely can come out of the East. But I'm with Ray as well. They have to continue to build that chemistry. I mean, you can't just expect the team to magically become so good all because they have all this talent in the world. And that's not how it works. You have to develop that chemistry. So the Nets are still going to need some time, but I still think with the conference that they're in and with all the star power that they have, they are the clear-cut favorites to come out of the East.
And can I add some stuff to this? We don't know how the NBA is going to do this year's playoffs. Last year's playoffs was in the bubble. No team had to actually go get on a plane and travel. The rumor coming out right now is that the NBA is going to go back to the regular NBA, where you have to travel to different stadiums and different places. Now, how's that going to affect the older team? If Brooklyn wins and the Lakers win and they meet in the finals, how's that going to affect LeBron flying all the way back to the East Coast and sitting there? Because now you got the travel, you got the hotel stays. You only had the hotel stays in Orlando in that bubble state. Is this going to be another bubble time where then the Lakers could be a formidable team because they don't have to travel, they don't have the bodies getting on the planes? But you got to understand, a 36-year-old guy getting on an airplane, flying all the way from the West Coast back to the East Coast, it's going to take some tolls on him. It's going to take a toll on the team. The travel aspect is going to take a toll, and that's what people don't understand. The bubble last year gave the Lakers an advantage. I'm going to tell you point blank. The Lakers had advantage in the bubble because the older team didn't have to travel at all. And, this person, Mary, Jones said, how about bringing McGee back? McGee's an older guy. Yeah, he still can play. But you got to understand that too. He's an older guy. He's got to fly. So if they don't have the bubble set up for them this year and they have to go back to the regular NBA flying, how's the toll of traveling is going to get back into the toll of the Lakers? And that could be a downplay for the Lakers too. It also could be a downplay for some of the Brooklyn Nets. So you got to understand, you got to travel to these teams. If they go back to the old NBA way of playoffs, you ain't gonna have a bubble system. So that could affect everybody coming into the playoffs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree. Travel can be a disadvantage for guys like LeBron for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that as well. I do want to address one more thing before we actually go in and talk some NFL. It's actually something when we were first actually talking this topic earlier. Ray kind of made the point when you said Brooklyn doesn't have that big four. I mean, when Brooklyn had the four, and to be honest with you, I really don't consider when Brooklyn brought in I'm blanking his name.
Blake Griffin.
I don't consider Blake Griffin a big man anymore. To be honest with you, he's not the same as what he was in early days of Detroit.
Yeah, but he's not the same as he was in Detroit. But he's better than some of the mediocre players that come off the bench. So that gives Brooklyn an advantage because if he gets back to where he can play a certain amount of minutes and score at least 15, 16 points and pull down you at least 10 or 15 rebounds and play a good defensive play without getting hurt, that's going to give them an advantage because they're bringing him off the bench against other bench players. Half the time he's going to be up against other bench players than having him in the starting lineup. I think that's what Brooklyn is probably going to end up doing with him, is bringing him off the bench, have a mismatch on the against their other team second tier players. He's better than some of the second team players in the NBA as of right now.
Hey, I'm excited for this because before we get on, I just have to get a little bit off topic, but Wisconsin just beat North Carolina. I'm looking at my bracket. That's who I had, and I'm right now sitting first place in my league. So.
Yeah, don't rub it in.
Okay.
My Tar Heels lost. I know.
So
Ray,
now,
North Carolina.
what?
Yeah, I'm originally from North Carolina, but I live in Jacksonville, Florida now.
I picked North Carolina too.
Yeah.
So now going in and talking a little bit about the NFL, the first topic here, the first topic out of what Freddie sent is he has a question really about the Arizona Cardinals. Do you think that the Cardinals are the favorites to win in the NFC? And I'm just going to start off and say that I don't even think they're the favorites to win the NFC West. I think it's going to be the Los Angeles Rams because bringing in that Matthew Stafford, who honestly I think is a completely underrated quarterback when he was in Detroit, had no weapons other than Megatron. He did have a Kenny Galladay, but Kenny always hurt. I know I've been talking about this so many times, but Matthew Stafford, with the weapons he has now, with that offensive line he always has now, and keep in mind Matthew Stafford is a guy that can come back and not win games, but he definitely can make games close and making the almost comeback with just a bad system that he was in. So him going on to the Rams just added in and fit nicely, and they got rid of a couple of draft picks and Jared Goff for that. Jared Goff is just completely overrated going into Detroit, and Detroit's not gonna have a great year. I mean, I'm sorry, but I honestly see them going 0-16, somewhere around there. Maybe if I'm nice, give them 3 or 4 wins. Ray. Now, since I gave my take, Ray, what's yours?
My take on the Arizona Cardinals is they're going to be better than they were last year. But the problem is
that's definitely true.
But the problem is they signed enough pieces on their offense and they signed enough pieces on their defensive line. But they took a hit in that back end of that defensive line and Peterson going to Minnesota. That's the big hit right there. That's their shutdown corner of Arizona is no longer there. So guess what's going to happen is them corners going to be on an island because you got a 2 demon pass rusher and Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. That for them to get pressure, the back end's got to hold up their responsibility. And that's where Arizona Cardinals is going to be their downfall right there. It's that back end of that defense. I had no problem with their offense. They signed A.J. Green. If A.J. Green stays healthy, he's still elite, one of them top elite wide receivers. They signed Rodney Hudson on the center to give him a little bit more protection in that offensive line for Kyler Murray to line up his big arm and send it downfield. But the question is, we have J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones. They need help on that back end to keep the receivers not getting open to give them time to get back to the other team quarterback. Do they have enough on that back end to replace Patrick Peterson? What are they going to do in the draft? They're going to have to go out and get another corner. So they're going to have to go get a corner that can fit a Patrick Peterson's type deal of a shutdown corner because they don't have that shutdown corner anymore. And that's the problem I have with Arizona. Arizona is not even in the top 15 pick to win the Super Bowl. So, and then you talking about the Los Angeles Rams. They went out and got Matthew Stafford. They traded Goff. Guess what? Matthew Stafford's got an arm. He's got an offensive line who can protect him. He's got wide receivers that he can use now. When he was in Detroit Lions didn't have no offensive line. He was getting sacked, he was getting hit, turnover ratio. You're going to see a better Matthew Stafford with the Los Angeles Rams. So now the question is, everybody wants to know, hey, they went out and got J.J. Watt. Arizona did. They went out and got, all these other wide receivers. They got all these, some more to back up the depth of the defensive end. They got Robert Alford. They re-signed him at corner. I mean, he's not a Patrick Peterson type. He's an okay guy. He's not officially showdown unless he comes overnight and proves this season than he did it last season. Arizona's going to be in a hot mess in that back seven.
Jonathan, I want to give your takes. When I definitely said, what my predictions on Detroit, you were like shocked. So, what are your thoughts, and what are your thoughts on Detroit? Because I wanted to hear what your thoughts were.
Well, I think they're going to win some games. I don't think they're going to go 0-16. I don't think they're going to go winless.
Hey,
I think
they did once before.
They did once before, but I think they'll win a few games. I think they'll finish at the bottom in the league, but I'll give them a few games. But to answer everyone's question, the Arizona Cardinals will be a better team next season. They're not exactly nearing the summit of the NFL's highest peak, but they have gotten better. Kyler Murray is in his second year. He has took some strides in his development. He has demonstrated flashes of brilliance. He has shown off his mechanics and his ability to, throw the football and also use his feet. So he can be a dual threat quarterback. But a lot of people doubted him when he entered the league, said he was too short, said he couldn't make the throws. Look, he has improved. He has gotten better. He has, found ways to, get the ball in the end zone. And then he has a great wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins, arguably the best wide receiver on the planet, one can argue. He's returning next season, and he's going to be hungry to succeed. And then now you have, Christian Kirk, who is poised for another breakout year. And then Larry Fitzgerald is who he is. He's Larry Fitzgerald. He's a veteran quarterback. A veteran wide receiver. He's been around for a long time now, has appeared in the Super Bowl before. And then now you add J.J. Watt, who will join forces with Chandler Jones. They will be tasked with getting to the quarterback. So this team, has the pieces. They have a bevy of playmakers in the secondary. They're not a bad team. But the team that has improved with their offseason trade is the LA Rams. Like Ray said, he took the words out of my mouth. Matthew Stafford is in a better position with the Rams because now he has an offensive line that can actually protect him. He has, enough weapons now, so there's no excuses. There's no more excuses for Matthew Stafford. If he blows it this time, then we can say that he's not that great of a quarterback. If he blows it with the Rams, then we can say that Matthew Stafford is not the great quarterback that everyone, anticipated him to be when he first came into the league. But he has Robert Woods, he has, Cooper Kupp. He has guys that he can throw the ball to. He could deliver throws down the field now. He has an incredible arm. He has great arm strength. And, the Rams still have Aaron Donald last time I checked. And Aaron Donald, we can argue that he's the best defensive tackle in the NFL today. He's good at getting to the quarterback. He's great at coming off the edge and putting pressure on the quarterback. So this Rams team is my favorites to come out of the NFC West. The Seahawks, they just have too much going on. You hear reports about Russell Wilson being unhappy, wanting a trade. There just seems like there's too much infighting chaos right now, and there's a lot going on. So the Rams are my favorites to win the NFC West. The Cardinals are getting better. They're close, but they're not close enough yet.
Yeah.
They're going to need some time, but they'll get there.
I would honestly say, looking at the Cardinals, I honestly say this Cardinals team is like the Chargers back when the last time the Chargers make the playoffs. I honestly see like this Cardinals team being very similar to that Chargers team. I see them getting 11-ish wins, 11, 12-ish wins, but I don't see them winning the division. I see it going to the Rams. Now going in, sticking with the NFC, but we're moving away from the West, and going into the least. So the New York Giants, I'm guessing he's wanting to talk about this topic. The reason why he had this topic is because the New York Giants have a new tight end. But to be honest with you, I honestly don't think that's going to help. I don't see them going and winning the division. I see it going to Washington this year. I think they're going to repeat the division, and I don't think it's going to help. I mean, it's going to help, but they got rid of that offensive line is just terrible. I'm going to go off on a hot take. I'm actually going to repeat Chris Brown's hot take on Real Talk. I honestly see Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones getting hurt this upcoming season, and I'm going to add on to that hot take. Saquon Barkley is going to leave the New York Giants because of injuries in 2 back-to-back seasons. Now, Ray, who do you have winning the East?
When you talk about the NFC East, you're talking about a division that anybody can actually win division. I mean, top to bottom. I mean, that team, that division is not there yet. It's not there like it used to be in the 80s and somewhere in the 90s and stuff like. It's not that division anymore where you have two teams playing against each other, separating themselves. You got a lot of questions with Philadelphia Eagles. You got a lot of questions with the Washington. The only question you don't have with Washington is that defense is still much intact. You still got Young out there. So they picked up Ryan Fitzpatrick, who could be a game manager. I'd look at the Washington Redskins as the Baltimore Ravens when they had Ray Lewis and Trent Dilfer at the quarterback position. Ryan Fitzpatrick will keep you in games. The defense could take over a game. The defense could give Washington a short field most of the time. Don't have to do these long 85, 95-yard drives. And if they get if the defense create these short distance and the Washington Redskins score, you're gonna have the Washington Redskins, winning this division. But you got to look at the Cowboys too. Everybody said, yeah, they picked up, they got Dak Prescott back, but we don't know how healthy Dak Prescott is going to come back from this injury. This injury was gruesome. These injuries could take time. It could take them halfway through the season just to get comfortable back in playing the game of football from the injury. People get injured, they get that shot. They don't get that confidence right away. When you go through the preseason, he's not going to get that confidence right away because he's only going to play a few quarters. He might not even play in the preseason. We don't know how Jerry Jones and the Cowboys are going to run that course through the preseason for the Dallas Cowboys. So that's uncertain for the Cowboys. But, you're looking at the New York Giants, Freddie's team. I don't know which team he's going to have tomorrow or, the next day. I mean, he's been going back and forth between the Packers and the Giants since I, joined the ASAP network. But, the New York Giants just picked up Mike Glennon. Yeah, I seen Mike Glennon play all last year, with the Jaguars because I go to all the Jaguars games. I'm a season ticket holder. He played pretty good at some type of points, but when he got pressured, he went zero. Then you got Jones at the quarterback position. We all know what Jones did last year when he ran 99, got open, ran. The turf monster tackled him. I mean, he tripped over his left feet. So, I mean, and then you got Saquon Barkley. We don't know how healthy he's going to come back either. So all these teams got questioned. We don't know how good Jalen Hurts is going to be for the Eagles. So the only clear favorite right now in that division that has the most certainty is the Washington football team. Almost said Redskin, but it's the Washington football team because their defense is set. They picked up a quarterback who can manage a game, So that's what we're talking about. The Giants can play. You talking about Kyle Rudolph. He's an injury prone guy too. I mean, come
I
on now.
disagree with that.
He's injury prone too. So you got an injured running back. You got an injury prone running back. You got a quarterback who's got 2 left feet. You got a quarterback that's scared of pressure because he's gonna kneel down like a little baby when they start pressuring him. And Mike Glennon. You got Kyle Rudolph. I mean, yeah, he's a good tight end when he's healthy. So, I mean, the Giants upgraded their tight end. They signed John Ross for a 1-year deal. I don't know, if that's going to be any calculation. They got a running back, Devon Booker, and they got, Mike Glennon. They franchise tag Leonard Williams on their defense. They picked, got Reggie Ragland. So, I mean, they made some moves, but that moves ain't going to help them to win this division.
I'm sorry, I had to do something just to be funny. I just had to. Now, Jonathan, what who do you think is going to win that NFC East?
Man, I'm gonna have to go with the Dallas Cowboys. They are
Whoa.
they are coming off one of the more forgettable seasons in franchise history. I don't think the Eagles can compete with them if Dak Prescott comes back fully healthy. I just don't see it happening. I don't see Washington being able to compete with them. I definitely don't see the Giants, because I think every team in the NFC East is a tragic comedy. I think the division is so weak that the Cowboys have an advantage here. They finally put the drama of the contract to bed, so there won't be any distractions there. The thing that is questionable right now is Dak Prescott's health. I mean, it's unknown if he's going to return, to his usual self, if he can still be that explosive quarterback. We never know how a player will come back from a gruesome injury like the one that Dak Prescott suffered last year. I know the Dallas Cowboys finished 6-10, in a tie for second place in the NFC East last year. But I think this will be a different year for them. I think that, now that, Dak Prescott is signed long-term, and hopefully their running back, Ezekiel Elliott, has a better year. Maybe he's tired of hearing about the critics talking about how horrible he was, and maybe he'll finally, have a breakout year, have a year where he bounces back, and fights through the adversity that he experienced a year ago. But the Dallas Cowboys made it all clear that they were in on Prescott for long term and trusting him to carry them to a championship. And I just see that the Dallas Cowboys have a lot of talent. I think they will address their defensive needs. I think they will get better in that area. They're going to have to if they want to win, particularly in the playoffs. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys here.
Honestly, with the whole Dak Prescott situation, if there's one thing relating to sports that Freddie and I are alike in, and we both, even though I root for Dallas occasionally because they're a local team, we both like to pick on the Cowboys. And to be honest with you, but to be completely honest with you, I do think that Dak Prescott signing with his contract, not signing Prescott, but the contract they gave Dak Prescott, to be completely honest with you, just saying the truth, that just made the Cowboys worse. That made their situation worse. That the cap space is lower than the previous years. They don't have a great offensive line, just like the Giants and just like the Eagles. Their defense is terrible. They do have a great running game. They do have great weapons, but that doesn't matter if you don't have a great offensive line. Heck, just look at the New York Jets.
And another thing about your offensive line, I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys free agent signing right now. They got Prescott back at quarterback. They picked up Ty Netsky. He agreed terms of 1 year deal, offensive tackle. You guess what? Everything else is a defensive end, Carlos Watkins, defensive end, Brent Urban, linebacker, Terrell Basham, cornerback, C.J. Godwin, cornerback, Jordan Lewis. Then they picked up a long snapper. So they only got one offensive lineman out of the whole entire free agency right now during the free agent period. They haven't upgraded their offensive line. And that's going to be the problem with Dak Prescott. Because when you got a quarterback that's coming back from an ankle injury that he had, his mindset is going to be on that ankle. And guess what is going to happen? His mindset is going to be on the offensive line. I'm going to tell you something. Everybody thinks the quarterback is the vital key of the offense. That is totally misconstrued completely. Offensive line, defensive line are the main focus that you need to have up front because your quarterback is not going to be able to operate unless that offensive line is protecting that against that defensive line. And then your center is going to be the most important because he calls the protection for the offensive line, not the quarterback. The quarterback taps him when he sees the Mike linebacker. He hogs the Mike linebacker. That triggers your center to call out the blocking scheme according to where the Mike linebacker is. If you ever hear the quarterback say Mike linebacker and they start pointing to him, that's letting the center know he's got to set that protection. Guess what? Dallas Cowboys did not set protection. And then and another thing with Dak Prescott, he wants to bull you over. He wants to run you over. He needs to learn how to slide and he needs to learn how to get out of bounds. And that's what happened to him last year.
And to be honest with you, the proof that how bad the Dallas's offensive line, look at the quarterbacks who played last year, who started a game last year. Fun fact, they're actually tied with the Denver Broncos for the most quarterbacks started in a single season.
Yeah.
By the way, Denver also had the most quarterbacks started in a single season last year. So they've actually started 4, and so did Dallas. But that just proves how bad that offensive line is for Dallas. And now Denver's is a little bit of a different scenario, but I'm not going to get into that. That's for another show. Now, I wanted to address one more thing before we go on to the next topic, and that's actually directed towards the division. Free agency as a whole. Eagles, I feel like this year, Eagles have gone worse in free agency. Cowboys, if I had to grade, they also had gotten worse in free agency. Giants, I would say they're about the same. They did make moves, but some hurt, some help. And you look at Washington, I actually thought they did way better. They're getting better. Now, it's not. I don't think the entire NFC East is going to be as bad as they were last year. Now, 2 of those teams I do think is going to be worse. But looking at the division, who I think will be the division winner, I think they're going to win a couple more games extra. I mean, if I had to be like really, really nice, 10 or 11 games win by Washington, but I don't think they're going to. But I don't think they're going to make it all the way and run all the way to the Super Bowl. That's my ceiling is what I'm trying to say is those 10, 11 games.
And I'm going to add something to this. I went to Vegas. I went and pulled some odds here for the NFC East when they're talking about the topics here. Now, Freddie's all hyped up for the Giants, right? We all know that. He's all hyped up the Giants is going to be because of Kyle Rudolph and stuff. But the Giants are plus 550 to win the NFC East. They're behind the Philadelphia Eagles. We all know how the Eagles have holes in their offense. Yeah. Don't know. They're sitting at plus 500 odds to win the NFC East. Now, Vegas is going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. They're sitting at plus 105. They got – I think this should be a little bit closer. Washington football Giants. The Washington football team, they're plus 320 to win the odds. So everybody's leaning towards the Cowboys because the Cowboys, that cliche, supposed to be the America's team, which is not. I mean, I don't know why they get that. I know about that back in the 80s and stuff like that. They were / America's team. But just like I said, when you look at the teams, Washington has the better chance of, because they went out and got their need. They went out and matched their need. Even though he's not a household name, but he's a journeyman, Fitzpatrick, he's a veteran. He can lead a team. And they, like I said, they could be that Baltimore Raven team with playing that defense, getting that short field for him, not having to go the long field. That's the problem. Sometimes that's what gets Fitzpatrick in trouble when he has to drive a team, 80, 85 yards. But if Washington Redskins defense calls them turnovers, he might have to drive a team about 40 yards, maybe 50 yards at the most, and he can do that. So, I think the division is going to come down to between the Cowboys and the Redskins in the football team.
So I wanted to see one more thing real quick. Before we move on to the last topic, I do have to eat some humble pie because the game that just finished, I got that wrong. They pulled Purdue lost in a complete upset. So here's my humble pie because I got that game wrong. But but going into that last topic, where was it? What team is under the most pressure to win a championship this upcoming season? I'm gonna go and I'm gonna start first on this. Even though I do think they are probably going to make it, win it, that's a different story. But make it, I'm still going. I'm going with every team, even though I do think this adding Carson Wentz and adding in Matthew Stafford, I do think that helped the Rams and the Colts. But my two teams are the Rams and Colts because how much they're kind of like in a win now mode. I do think that it is an upgrade, but how much that's more of a we don't know situation. Ray,
to me, Kansas City Chiefs because of that poor performance in last year's Super Bowl. But I'm going to have to go with the Green Bay Packers because you got Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback. He's supposed to be, this great quarterback and stuff like that. He only has one Super Bowl, and trying to get back to the Super Bowl has been a pressure for the team. But this is probably be the last year Aaron Rodgers is in Green Bay. So if Green Bay wants to go, they're going to be under the pressure.
Yes, but they said that last year too, and look what happened.
Well, they think they got a team that he can win with this year.
Yeah, I agree with Ray as well. I got the Packers. Green Bay's offense was first in scoring last season. The Packers have won consecutive. Not one, but they've made it to consecutive NFC championship games. They still have Aaron freaking Rodgers, who's, in my opinion, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. And he only has one Super Bowl title to his name. I'm sure he wants to win another one to, put his name in conversation with some of the other great quarterbacks. And they re-signed Aaron Jones. So now he has a running game backing him as well. He still has Devontae Adams as his go-to guy, a guy that he can go deep down the field to. So I think the Green Bay Packers, man, it's their year to win it. And if they don't, I see them ending their relationship with Aaron Rodgers, and I see them, possibly looking into a new era, possibly embarking on a new era. I think Matt LaFleur will also be out of the door, and I think Aaron Rodgers would, be out as well, and they'll be going into the Jordan Love era.
So we do have a couple a little bit of time left. So, I'm gonna actually address a little bit about the Green Bay situation. To be honest, I think that their ownership is kind of a mess. To be honest with you, it is kind of a goofy situation. Are they going to? Is Aaron Rodgers going to go? Is he going to stay? But to be honest with you, they said the same thing last year, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen to be honest. But I saw some things 2 years ago. It was kind of the same way. I don't know why I'm voice cracking, but I don't. Even though I don't see Green Bay winning, they're going to win the division because of how bad the rest of their division is right now. But I just there is a lot of talk. So I see your point, but now we're just gonna spend the rest of the time. We do have 4 more minutes. We're gonna spend a couple more minutes just talking a little bit about some free agency stuff. Jonathan, even though you were on yesterday's show, which was all completely baseball, I wanted to hear your take actually on the Buffalo Bills signing Mitchell Trubisky.
It's not a bad signing because maybe he could be a good backup somewhere in this league.
That's true.
I just don't see him as a starting quarterback. And, the Buffalo Bills think they can use him as a backup to Josh Allen. I don't see anything wrong with the signing. It's not a risky move. It's a great move, and he's now under
it's a great move, but it's a shocking move for me.
Yeah, maybe so, but he's under a great coaching staff with Sean McDermott. And I think he will learn playing behind a guy like Josh Allen. Maybe this will help him, sharpen his skills as a quarterback. We really don't know, but I think he's in a good position now, being a backup quarterback in Buffalo. I think it's a great signing.
I'm gonna say one thing about that. I like that, except for one. They really need, but what Buffalo really needs is a running back. To be honest with you, now I will say though, even though that doesn't address the running back situation, I'm worried though that Josh Allen might get hurt because their leading rusher is literally Josh Allen. So I'm worried that he might get hurt next year, and then Mitchell Trubisky will have to take the ropes if they don't do something soon. Now, signing Mitchell Trubisky, I do think that is a better upgrade. They'll definitely get more wins than signing having whatever backup. I think is the backup quarterback before Matt Barkley, right? I do think that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Matt Barkley. I do think Mitchell Trubisky is a way better upgrade than Matt Barkley, so that was a better move on that part. Now we're getting close to time here. We're actually going to go with Jonathan first. Do you have any final comments before getting this to close?
Yeah. I hope my bracket doesn't continue to get busted like it does every year. That's the only thing I have. I mean, I think this is the best time of the sports year, though. I enjoy March Madness. Mm-hmm. It's the best tournament. You might have heard me say that before. It's the best tournament in sports. I don't know any other better tournament out there. I really don't. I mean, if you was to start this tournament over, let's say we made it to the Final Four by now. If you have Final Four, if you have your Final Four teams in there, and you were to start the tournament all over again, you will have 4 different teams. I mean, that's just how unpredictable and how wild this tournament is, and it makes for competitive basketball. and it keeps you engaged in the whole tournament. For 3 weeks? The tournament goes on 3 weeks. So I mean, I love this time of year. I have braced myself for this moment, and I'm just glad that we have it back, because now there's a feeling of normalcy once again in our country.
Yeah.
And we need sports, because this is a way of healing, and this is a way of us coming together as a nation. So it's great that we have sports back and something to look forward to.
Ray, why don't you go next and I'll go?
Okay. Since I didn't get no outtake on the Buffalo Bills situation
that's
here.
true. Yeah.
So I'm going to take this opportunity and say, hey, Buffalo will address that running back position in the draft. They got a ton of running backs in the draft. And I did see one projection for him in the draft is Michael Carter out of University of North Carolina. He's a good running back. Him and Williams in that backfield exploded all over the college football season. So, I mean, they're going to address that running back position sometime in that draft. So they will get that running back for Allen. And Mitch Trubisky signing is great, because you always got to have that good backup quarterback to keep the team running when the starter gets hurt.
Okay. As for me, I'm also going to talk a little bit about the March Madness bracket. No, I'm kidding. I brought too much about that today. But I will close this off. So this has been Jonathan, Ray, and Nate, signing out for now.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, never the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.